Hello. So this is Candidate Master Lakshmi Narayan, and I'm going to show some very important ideas, like how to make the knights more powerful in chess. Sometimes the knight really becomes very powerful. Sometimes I even feel the knight is equal to lion in some cases. So that's one reason I wanted to show this game. Okay. So you can see the game went with the game opened with d4. Black played knight f6. White went c4. Black played knight c6. Here e6 or c5, d5. These are very common. Knight c6. This is called the tango, just to provoke this pawn to d5. But then the knight has a lot of squares to go, so it's not a problem. So knight f3, they try to push. So black has to go pawn to e6. So now white plays a3. So white is trying to push the pawn to d5, because if they directly push, we can just get the bishop out first, and then we can get the knight to e7. So knight has an excellent square here. So that's the reason white makes a3 with the idea to push d5. Now if this knight comes to e7, this bishop will not get a very good development. So black can plan pawn to g6. So now knight c3. We can go bishop g7. Pawn came to d5. The knight can go to e7. So they took f6, e3. So this bishop has to find a way to get to the center. So b6, queen c2, bishop to b7, bishop e2, castle, b4, and knight f5. So here white castle. Now black to play. Black has a strong attack on this diagonal. So the knight went to e4, attacking this. And here surprisingly the position is quite lost after bishop to b2. White has to play bishop to d2. Usually when the pawn goes to b4, it suggests that the bishop must go to b2 in most of the cases, but here it's an exception. We'll see the reason why. Because after bishop b2, black shifted the pieces to the king side. All of white pieces are stuck on the queen side, so they are not really able to help the king. So knight to g5, an attempt to ruin the pawn chain. So knight went to d2, and black wins here by force, and white is completely lost. There is no defense at all. These two knights are too powerful. That ends the game very quickly. Can you see what is coming here? Knight h3. Yes, knight h3. Pawn takes. But what is the continuation here? because if we go queen g5, they are going to block, and moves like these are not good because they can always play knight e4. So we need a strong follow-up. Okay, so this knight sacrifice is correct. Pawn takes, and then the other knight goes to e3. Very strong. See, both the knights sacrificing. Pawn takes. Now queen to g5, queen e3, and game over. Check. Bishop g4. Queen takes e3. So rook f2. Queen takes, mates. Very strong. So knight h3. Pawn takes. Knight takes. And let's see what happens if they don't take, and if they play queen d3. So anyway, we can go queen g5 check. So the bishop has to block. So bishop has to go to g4. Bishop has to go to g4. We can take. They take, but we can't directly take on g4 because you can see queen is coming to block. So first we have to play rook f3, a strong intermediate move. So after knight f3, now the queen cannot come there, right? So queen g4 check, king moves, and bishop f3 wins. Black wins. So knight e3. Knight e3 is too strong here. So knight h3. Let's see what happens if they don't accept the sacrifice. They can target these pawn chains. Like there are two strong continuations, and both are almost equal. Like equally strong. I mean equally strong. The first one is knight f2. Check. If rook f2, we can go knight e3. Now the rook on f2 is attacked. If they capture, we can recapture with the queen. So the queen is attacked, right? So they have to go here. And before we take on g2, it's very important that we play queen to f2, restricting the king. So queen f2, and there's no defense for g2. G2 is attacked thrice, and no defense, right? So even if they play bishop f3, we are just going to take and mates. So knight f2, rook f2, knight can go to e3. Knight e3, yeah, queen d3, queen d3. We can take on f2. If queen e3, we can take on g2. Now there's a strong discovery. So if bishop f3, it's quite easy to spot that bishop f3 wins, because queen won't be able to take. Rook d2 is coming, and if knight f3, rook b2 is coming. So it's completely lost. So white tried to cover this line with knight f3. Now you can see the power of the bishops in the open diagonal. Rook takes. This knight is pinned, and this knight is pinned. So queen takes. Now queen f6. We add more pressure to the pinned knight. So rook has to go to f1. and then there are two defenders, and we have two attackers. So we can bring this rook. This rook also can join the attack with rook f8. And here the nearest support to this knight is the king support. So king has to come here. Now it's coordinated, but we'll break the coordination technically. Queen g5, taking advantage of the pin, because pinned piece, the knight won't be able to perform because it's already pinned, and king won't be able to go to f2 because rook f3 is an easy win. So also king h1 is too far, so they can't connect to the knight. So queen g4 wins. So they have to defend this somehow. So king has to go to h3, and then we'll go queen f5 check, again attacking. So if king goes to g2, we can go queen g4. So they will try to hold this, but we can easily break it. Like queen f4, king g2, queen g4, king h1, rook takes. It's over. But if you are looking for more perfect attack here, then you can play bishop to d4, threatening to mate, because this rook is pinned anyway, so it won't be able to help. And if they play queen g2, and then we can take on f3. So the queen is on the way to g1, checkmate. Okay, so going back to that position, so knight h3, king h1. The other strong continuation is we can also go bishop g2, completely demolishing these pawns. So king g2, then knight f2. The threat is knight e3. If king f2, the king comes straight into the line of discovery. So knight goes to d4, winning material. And if rook f2, then we can go knight e3, winning the queen. So if they go knight d1, trying to hold this, we can simply go knight h4. This is a very strong link between these two knights. It's very strong. So if king comes to g5, we can go, king to g3, we can go queen g5. It's over. Now takes. Still these two knights, that's why I named it as roaring lions. They are really so powerful here. So you see, a lot of tricks. Knight h3, king to h1, bishop g2. Okay, so for knight h3, king h1, knight f2. It's lost. So no defense. If they go king g1, then we can take. We can take here also. Too strong. We also have this. Knight h3 is also very powerful. Once again, strong attack. Because if they take the same thing, queen to g5, and then queen takes. And if they go here, I think you can even go here. Bishop g2 takes knight e3. Very strong attack. So that's the reason, the bishop has to go to d2. Usually, whenever b4 is played, the bishop normally goes to b2, but here e3 defense is very important. So this would have still saved the game for white, even though white is slightly worse, but it's okay. So bishop b2 gave very strong attack, and also knight takes g5 is also not really good because queen g5, g2 is attack, and if they play this, then just take it, attack. They won't be able to take because queen e3. So let's say they try to pin it, but we can put the bishop here for time being, and we are going to release next. Even if they go knight d1 trying to exploit this pin, but this diagonal is too weak, so the black's attack is more faster. So the queen will shift to f5. Tricky. The point is, when they take, we have queen e4, threatening mate, and when they play this, we can take, they move, we can take, they take, we can take. End of the day, black will be a full piece up, and these pawns are weak, so winning attack. So very strong. So knight g5, the knight a2, knight h3. Amazing knight sacrifice. So both the knights are going to sacrifice itself. One on h3 and one on e3. So very instructive one. Okay. So hope you enjoyed it. So we can see more ideas similar to this later on. Thank you.